the basic premise of this next build. The idea is that we have our GT6000. Our GT6000 has a horizontal 18 horsepower Briggs & Stratton in it. Now originally, the way this GT6000 would have been set up is it would have had an electronic clutch on the front of it that came down, went through a couple of right angles with a twisted belt, and would have driven a deck underneath the machine. Now what I theorize we can do right now with this is I'm betting I can put an electric clutch back on it and put a piece of 3/4 inch axle coming through a couple of pillow block bearings, and I can build it just barely underneath the underside of the winch mount that we currently have on the front of this, because the winch mount assembly that I have on here does not extend underneath where the original frame rail is. So the winch will sit out into this area with the winch motor sitting about here and the fairlead sitting right about here. Now, what we'll need is we're going to need a coupler of some sort. We're going to need to be able to lift this front assembly up and down in order to be able to drive around with it, so we're not just scraping it down across the ground. Now what I have here is I have a larger, older Sears snowblower front end. Seems to still have some pretty good bushings in it and bearings, so we should be able to get it up and running. You know, I've only got about maybe a month left of the snow season up here in Maine, so this is more of just a let's see if we can do it project. So what we're going to do is we're going to come out of this universal joint, and what that's going to do is give us a pivot point so that we can build off of here in order to have a pivot, and we can build something off of here in order to pivot right on that universal. So from there we'll be able to use the winch to lift the whole assembly. Now keep in mind it only needs to lift like a couple of inches. So without any further ado, let's start cutting things up. The first thing that we're going to have to do is get that extremely rusted pulley off of this snowblower. I've tried everything to get it off. We are just plain going to have to take a grinder to it. I really like these Blackhawks. They've been working really well for me. I'll make sure there's a link in the description in order to pick these up. They're a little bit more expensive than the Harbor Freight ones that I normally use, but they seem to work really well. So this one, the is the strongest thing I have in the shop. But right now I'm going to use finesse and brute force and see if we can get this pulley hub to come off. Here we go. Alright, so at that point we maxed out the line decker. We're going to switch to a different impact now. So this key is older, but it's rated for about twice what the line decker is, so let's try this. Well, I guess at this point we're going to have to up our game because that's still not moving. Alright, so we're going to up our game to this Husky. This Husky's rated for 750 pounds of torque. If this one doesn't move, then we're just going to have to start slicing some more. I'll try to shift off in here. Alright, so here we are with our moment of truth. As you can see, the arrow is pointing this direction, which is the direction we need for it to spin in order for this project to work. Alright, so let's see if I can show you what went wrong here. So as you can see right here, we've got a bolt that randomly came flying out, and that was my pulley tensioner bolt right there. So what ended up happening is here, this actually dropped off of the end of that, the coupler, and it sunk down inside the universal joint. I don't know if you can see that, but it sunk down inside the universal joint to the point that the coupler actually started to come off, and it jumped it off of here, which brought it around, which smashed it into the side of this. And then because that hit, it torqued up on this belt, and the belt threw this and snapped off my connection. Should be all fixable though. We'll try again. So this is probably the worst possible testing that you could ever do. All of this is extremely solid, extremely harsh snow, and it's been packed in with rain and everything else. Like, I literally can almost stand on it. At 200 pounds, it is concrete enough I can stand on it. But the thing is, we're cutting through it. We actually cut into an original bank. What ended up happening is on the front piece where I joined it into the snowblower, the keyway ended up dropping out through the front because it was a bevel cut, and it just shot out. So I welded it in place, and as you can see, we're back up and running. This was just our test for the end of the year. I'm gonna process this out more next year, but it's time to get to some more summer-based stuff. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Have a good day.